Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. You are listening to ProjectME, the podcast with Tiffany Carter. And I want you guys to take a screenshot of listening to this episode today, especially if you're liking it. Like, show us some love, tag me on Instagram, ProjectME with Tiffany, and we will feature you for sure in our stories. Let's make this a more engaging, fun time. So, for today, I'm giving you an extra injection of motivation. It's Motivation Monday, right? So we might as well go along with that hashtag. But while we're doing that, the goal is also to erase some of these false beliefs that many of us may have. And there are a lot of different ones, but there are a few that keep coming up again and again when I work with people. So I brought on someone to basically throw all those false beliefs out the window. So I brought on Leland Jones. He's a highly booked motivational speaker, author, and creator of the brand Motivation. Welcome to ProjectME, Leland.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Tiffany. It's a pleasure.
So I normally would never make a point of someone's age or ask someone their age because, it's kind of rude. And also it's like, what's the point? However, I do feel there's a point here in starting off with this because so many people tell themselves, well, no one's going to take me seriously for me to start a business in whatever field it is. I'm too young. There's a lot of that. And then there's people who want to go on to really follow their dreams later in life. And then they have the excuse of, well, God, I'm too old. I should have started this a long time ago. So tell everyone when you started all of this and how old you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started entrepreneurship when I was 10 years old. Probably even before that, honestly, but I remember being 10 years old and selling things around my neighborhood and creating value for people. And then now I'm 19 years old, so it's been almost a decade of truly being an entrepreneur and following my dreams and doing business and starting businesses, running businesses, selling businesses, flipping businesses, literally anything you could do in the entrepreneurship world. I'm either doing it, about to do it, or have done it.
Wow. So what happened to you? Like what made you even do this and have that belief in yourself enough that like people will, that confidence, like people will take me seriously regardless of my age?
Absolutely. That's probably the number one question I get is like, you're 19. Why should I listen to you? Or like, you're 19. Yeah, right. Get out of here. And it really started with discovering my purpose at a young age. And when I discovered my purpose, which is built upon things that I love to do, the things that I can do for other people, I can help solve other people's needs, and I love doing it. And so when I found out that I love speaking, I love coaching, I love learning leadership skills and business practice and business skills, I like to make money. I love to make money. I love to help people get value from the things that I provide them. And in turn, the money I get, I'm able to do things with it like donate and give back and provide so many other options and opportunities for myself, my family, my friends, and all these other people in my life. So it really was the driving factor was what is my ideal scene of what I really want out of my life. And the fact that, age to me was never the issue. It was like, I'd look around and, I'd walk into a room and people would never ask me my age. They'd just be like, oh, what do you do? I'd tell them and then I'd start doing business with them. It was that simple. And then when people were like, oh, you're so young, what the heck? People would be thrown off. But, I never looked at it as an age thing because then I met a whole community of young entrepreneurs just like me, some out there just killing it and crushing it. And so then I realized, I'm not alone and age is really just a number. So it's all about how much value can I provide to people and can I solve people's wants and needs and desires. And when I figured that out, that was my driving factor. It had nothing to do with age and the experience.
You cut out a little bit at the end. I heard you say the word experience. Did you say anything after that?
I just said experience. Experiences come with that.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Your reception isn't amazing, so hopefully it stays clear for the rest of the interview. So, I mean, when I saw like on his Instagram, you guys, okay, it's at the Leland Jones. I notice you lead, right, in your bio. You lead with your age. It's like you've turned your, so to speak, obstacle into an asset. Would I be right? Would I be right to say that? It's part of your marketing plan.
Absolutely, 100%. Because I'm a firm believer in taking your disadvantages and using them to your advantage.
So can you give other examples of where that might work for people, like other common insecurities people have?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll give one short example of how this was both a problem in my life and also an asset in my life. And then I'll give you an example of a conversation I literally had last night with a client. So the first example was I was trying to get on some television on TV. And so I called a bunch of television stations and whatever. And one of them, literally within 20 minutes of it, one of the television companies said, "Oh, no, you're too young. You don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here," and hung up on me. And then I called the next one right after that. And they said, "Oh, we'd love to have you. What a cool story. Young entrepreneur crushing it." And so, and then at that time, it was like I was like 17 or 18, and this title of that was like 18-year-old entrepreneur, crushing it, and that was like the title. So where one station said, "Oh no, you're too young, you don't know what you're talking about," they looked at the disadvantage, whereas the other company put that to their advantage to get the story out there and get it heard, so that other people could see this value. And from that, my book sales rocketed. Like everybody was getting so much value from it, and so. That's one scenario in my life where it's been both a disadvantage and an advantage. But then I was having a conversation with a client last night who has so many allergies, like literally 23 allergies or something. I don't know how many allergies, a lot. And he was telling me like, how could I use this disadvantage to my advantage? And we got to talking, and he actually ended up writing is like an essay or an article about how his 23 or whatever allergies has actually been an advantage to him, because it's made it so like when he goes to restaurants, he has to take control over what he's eating, and it's actually helped him develop willpower, because it's like he has to be so conscious, because it can actually literally lead to a lethal scenario so he's literally been forced to develop this willpower and tenacity of literally something as simple as knowing what food he's eating. And so he took this disadvantage and he put this positive mindset towards, he has all these allergies, but he's looking at it as an advantage because of the willpower that he's developed from it. So literally what I've seen entrepreneurs or speakers a lot, like Sean Mulroney, who was obese, like 687 pounds, and he used that to his advantage to start Teens for America and his obesity movement. Nick Vujicic, who literally has no arms or legs, and he's a speaker and talks about how he's used that to his advantage. And so literally, if you have any disadvantages, no matter whether it's your age, your race, your gender, whatever it is, you can be successful. You just need to know how to turn those disadvantages into advantages.
Those are great examples, and something that I really admired that you did, and you did it with me, which is how you're on the show right now. Normally, I have people on the show who, I already know or am familiar with, etc. And I'm not familiar with your work, so I'm glad that we got connected. But I was so impressed that you actually do your own PR engagement. And I really feel that gives you a huge leg up in terms of booking. Would you say that this strategy works well in other mediums like TV?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen that when I do it myself. So I do have a team of social media marketers that do some behind the scenes stuff. Like they do like following, unfollowing, stuff like that behind the scenes. They do like they manage it, but like if you get a reply from me on Instagram, then like that's me, you know? So that has definitely been an advantage. People get that more like personal aspect to it. They don't feel like they're talking to a chat bot or anything like that. So that has definitely been an advantage. When I get to talking to people that book, I do have a sales team that does help me book a lot of my gigs. However, when it comes down to the actual negotiation, getting the contract in their hands and talking out the terms of the agreement, that's me having that conversation with them.
Oh, interesting. See, I do it the other way around, where I generate, so to speak, the lead, and then all the details are handled by my team. So why do you do it in this way? Because that is unique to do it in that order.
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody on the team, whether you're in HR or sales or whoever you are, whether it's me or literally all of us are generating leads. So we all do the generation of leads through prospecting. Literally everybody's generating leads. And then when it comes to closing the deal, they close the deal. They just say, hey, Leland, this guy's ready to close. Let's make it happen. And so then it's like, in all those sales movies, Glengarry Glen Ross, like, oh, I'll point you over to my accountant or whatever. I'm just that accountant because I like having that conversation and making sure, because really it's just the quality assurance aspect. I just want to make sure they have the clickers and they have the timer and all these things when I'm giving the speech. So it's really just, and plus they like to get to hear me talking to them when it's the event coordinator. They want to have that conversation, and I know I can give them a little taste of what I'm about to deliver so that they have confidence. Being the event coordinator, they have confidence in booking.
What are some tips that you can give people who are interested in pitching themselves to get some TV appearances and to get some paid speaking gigs, whatever their specialty may be? What would be some good tips that you have that don't cost a lot of money for people to at least try to go after those things?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing is it really comes down to your ability to sell. So sales is the skill that everybody needs to learn. Everybody already does it already, whether you're, dating someone and you want to sell them on liking you, or selling yourself on going to the gym. Like everybody's already doing sales. So learn that, hone in on that. And some practical tips to get really good at that is create your own scripts. Like they don't have to be like monotone reading a script, like when you get a call from a telemarketer and you just hang up on them because you're annoyed because you can tell they sound like a robot. Don't do that. But like call people, test out a strategy, test it out again, take notes on it, and then repeat the process until you get a good script. And so, like if you want to get on TV or podcast or radio, literally you have the tools in your hand. It's your cell phone. I mean, that's how we're talking right now, right? I literally got on my Instagram and I typed in like hashtag podcast, entrepreneur podcast. And then I looked for some, I watched some of their episodes, and then I was like, oh, this is one I would like to be on. And then I reached out to them. It was that simple. And then I got a reply from maybe, 20%. But that keeps me booked. I get like a podcast interview, like probably weekly now because of doing that. And so, and getting on TV, it was just as simple, maybe easier. I just made a phone call. I said, hey, this is my story. I'd love to be on your thing. Drop some value for your viewers. And, here's my story. If you'd like more information, please reach out. And then, something like that, or I'd just say something like, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast. What's stopping me from being a guest and providing value to your listeners? And then, and something as simple as that, you try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, try something else, and then just get something that you can reproduce, create that system. And then it'll work for you. I mean, and if it doesn't, reassess it. It costs $0, zero, whatever. Like it's literally taking notes and repeating the process.
I totally agree. It's the old adage. It's numbers, you guys. It's having the actual, being able to have the confidence and being able to sell. And for some people, it comes naturally. I'm blessed with that. It comes natural for me, but I'm well aware that it doesn't always come natural. But, it's trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, and then repeat, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm so impressed that you, first off, got your ego out of the way in terms of booking TV gigs. I mean, podcasting, I think, is a little easier to book, in my opinion. But as far as TV, given I'm a former NBC CBS newscaster, like, I know how many people try to get on, and you actually got the number to the assignment desk and called and pitched yourself. A lot of people wouldn't do that because they feel that makes them look not as important because they're doing it and it's not their publicist doing it.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's a myth. I mean, right off the top. It could, you could position it if you do it well, like, oh, my assistant reached out to you, but it's more authentic and, grassroots kind of thing if you go out and do it yourself and just like you said, put the ego aside. I mean, I'm not above anything. Like, I'm not above making 500 sales calls. I'm not above, I'm not above anything. You just need to do it. And whether you're me or like some of the Bill Gates or like top entrepreneurs, whatever, Grant Cardone or whatever, they're doing the same thing that they were doing. I just saw like an example, Grant Cardone, whoever's familiar with it listening. He just made a video about like he was going to speak. I mean, he's spoken, probably thousands, I don't know, all the time he's speaking. But he made a video that he was still changing his suit in the parking lot like he was when he first started. Like he's, in between sessions, he's still changing his outfit in the parking lot. And it's the same thing. Like he's not above doing those things because it's all about being professional and, you have to do it. And the people that are looking for the easy way out or get my assistant to do it, it's like, it's not going to work and you probably don't have the right qualities, and you should really assess that. Look at that again and really assess that ego aspect of not being above doing the stuff that if you're going to do it, like everybody on my sales team, everybody in multi-motivation, everybody does pretty much everything because I want them all to say, yeah, I'm not above making sales calls. I'm not above prospecting. I'm not above, getting rejected failure after failure. I'm not above that. I just need to do it. It's like it's a duty. It's an obligation. It's something you have to do to succeed anyways.
Yeah. And what I notice when I'm coaching people or when people come up to me after I speak, because I'm in one of my areas of expertise is Facebook ads. Okay. I've been doing them since their inception. And a lot of people come to me thinking that I have some magic special sauce that they do some ad spend of, I don't know, we'll just pick a number, $50 a day. And all of a sudden they'll get flooded with sales. And it just speaks to your point. It's like, I always say, you guys, if it was that easy, all of the major companies in the entire world would drop every TV advertisement, print advertisement, radio advertisement, billboard, and put all their money in Facebook.
Yep.
I mean, if it was that easy and every call you made, or let's say one of every 2 calls you made for, whether it's, a press opportunity or something or a speaking gig and you had a 50% return rate. I mean,
Oh, I'd want to be you.
Exactly. I mean, it's not really like that. Like you said, you reach out to give me some numbers so people can help. We can help manage people's expectations, and also so people don't feel like they're necessarily doing something wrong. Like out of every 100 outreach that you and your team do to book you for a paid speaking gig, how many do you land?
Wow. Yeah. So I'd say, okay, so out of let's say I call 100 people, I'd say 20% would make an appointment to meet. Okay. So that's not a contract. That's not a close. That's just an appointment to meet with me. So that's 20%. And then, so 20 people. And of those 20 people, I would say I would get to demonstrate my product or demo the product to about 5 of them. I'd try to demo all of them, or at least show the value that they could get to every single one of them. But, due to different objections or whatever, it might not get to that point. So I'd say about 5 of them would actually demonstrate the product. And then of that 5, I would probably get 3 to close.
Love
on
it.
the actual.
And you'd be happy with that.
That'd be outstanding.
Thank you.
And the way I look at it is that every no I get out of those 100, I get paid for every single no. And I'll explain that. Meaning, if I close, one person on my like $10,000 package or whatever, and I close that one person, well, all of those 100 people and the 97 that said no, well, I just take whatever that $10,000, divide that by 97. And that's how much I made per no. You know what I mean? So
I love that. I love twisting that around and looking at it like that. And you guys, so think about this. He is obviously has a natural knack for sales. It's not possible for him to have been in sales for decades and decades. He's 19. So obviously you do have a natural knack that you further refine.
Absolutely. I'd agree with that. I definitely would say I'm a master in sales, because I've done a lot of, literally I've spent myself up to didn't sleep for 70 hours because I was doing sales training, because I loved it, and that goes back to whatever you're doing. It doesn't have to be, you're selling in everything you do, but, and I talked about that before, but it's no matter what you're doing, whether you're, selling popcorn or, selling $10,000 packages, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, it comes back to what do you love to do? I met this 11-year-old girl, Emily Shea, and she came up to a friend of mine, Caleb Maddox, and he's a 16-year-old millionaire or whatever. He's awesome. He's a great guy. And, I talk to him on the daily. But Emily Shea went up to him and after one of his talks and was like, hey, what do you love to do? And she said, I love sleepovers. And he was like, what? And so he was like, well, let's turn that into an income producing thing. And so Caleb, owning a publishing company, him and his dad, they said, okay, well, let's write a book about the top, 11 things you love or 7 things you love about sleepovers. Let's write a book about it. And then so she wrote how to have a perfect sleepover, and then marketed it to car dealerships and made over $10,000 just selling this book. And so it goes to show you, it's not about what you do or what skills you have, whether it's in sales or marketing or, being a broadcaster, whatever it is. It is, what do you love to do? And then when you take the thing that you love to do, how can you sell it? How can you push your ideas in quantities high enough, at rates fast enough, at prices high enough, so that you don't go out of business and you can sustain that?
I love that. I love the sleepovers. And I just started thinking of all these amazing mom blogs and ways that she could keep making a ton of money off that. And I'm like, yes, exactly. So for people who are, want to start a business or a side hustle, or maybe are in the beginning stages, or they're somewhere in there and they're not doing as well as they'd like, you have obviously the resources now to have help because you are making enough revenue to do that. But in the beginning, you didn't, I imagine, unless you had some special angel investor, right?
Right.
So how did you do that? Because scaling it is kind of a little more obvious. How did you make it rain in the beginning?
Yeah. Honestly, I've never gotten a traditional investor. The only investment I ever got was my dad a while ago helped me purchase an LLC license, which was, I think, $500.
Yeah.
And then my grandma gave me about $3,000 as a graduation thing that I invested into my t-shirt brand, which ended up blowing up. And so, in a good way, blowing up in a good way. But and so those were really the only investments. Other than that, I did everything on my own, but with help from a team. So meaning it literally came down to hustle and meeting people and going to networking events and contacting people, reaching out on social media. I'd say the biggest help I ever got was when I got to connect with Matt and Caleb Maddox. And that came through social media. And they gave me all kinds of tips and mentoring and coaching. And then I literally was just like, I'm just going to follow what they say and do it. And then I started, meeting other entrepreneurs in the field, Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, all these other Tony Robbins, all these, top dudes in the field. And then I was like, well, how do I get more connected to these people? And it was just a series of rinsing and repeating the same process of meeting people on social media. And then how do I connect with them? And then I was able to connect with local guys here in Anchorage and meet some other guys that are Grant Cardone certified coaches. They got me into Cardone University, where I got to get really good at sales, got master certified in sales from Cardone Sales University, and all those things just really took off from starting by picking what do I want to do, and then scaling it up, but then finding the people that could take me to that next level in the scale. So it was from books. It was from, in books, $20 or most great entrepreneurs are giving their books out for free plus shipping, which you've probably seen on Facebook or something. Just get their book. It's like $7 for shipping. And then, read the book and then apply it. Literally, I think it comes down the way this is the system that will take you to achieving literally anything you want in your life. And I say this not as that skeevy Facebook post, oh, you do this and you'll get everything you want in life. Legitimate. It's not easy. It's not a get rich quick scheme, but it will literally help you accomplish anything you want. It starts with your purpose at the top. What is the purpose that you want to accomplish? Then it's your vision after that. What's your vision for success? Okay, what do you see yourself succeeding? How much money do you see in your bank account? And then after your vision, it's what are your values? Because I've seen if you value, sleeping in, then likely you're not going to be having a vision of making millions of dollars, right? So,
well, not necessarily. I love sleeping in.
You're absolutely right. That's true. But you've made it. So,
That's true.
So then you earned that, right? So, but what I'm saying is don't waste your time. Don't, if you value video games, scrolling through Facebook for 4 hours a day and television and Netflix, you can enjoy those things, but earn them. In other words, I don't take time off until I feel like, oh, I deserve to take off the weekend. You know what I mean? I deserve to sleep in an extra 5 hours today because I hustled from 5 to 9 for the past, 2 weeks. And so now I feel like, okay, it's fine for me to take off a little bit of time. But so it starts purpose, then your vision, then your values, and then you have your goals. So what are your goals to get there? And then before your goals, you have to have a plan. And then before your plan, you have to be taking action. And then before you take action, you have to have an idea. And then before you have an idea, you have to have a want or desire. Okay? So it all starts really with a want or desire to do something. And then after you have a want or desire to do something, then it sparks an idea. Oh, I'm going to start that business. Oh, I'm going to write that book. Oh, I'm going to create that blog or that podcast. You have that idea. Then you start taking action. You write the book. You start the podcast. You start the business. Okay. Then you create a plan. Okay. And notice, and I do this on purpose, you start before you create the plan. Okay. People think, plan this, plan that. Stars all have to be in alignment. But then what happens is you never start because you overwhelmed yourself with the details of the plan. And plus, how can you even know the plan if you don't even know what you've started? So start and then create a plan. And then set goals. I want to achieve this much. I want this much in revenue. I want, this much ad spend for these campaigns or, whatever it is, and then you start the plan, then you set your goals and then you say, okay, where do my values lie? Okay. I have these goals. Where are my values? Do I value sleeping in? Do I value waking up early? Do I value video games or do I value, providing value to other people? Assess your values, then set a vision. I see myself making this much. I see myself impacting this many people. I see myself getting 1 million books sold. I see myself as an Amazon bestseller, whatever. You set the vision and then you say, okay, where's my purpose? You look up and you realize, oh, my purpose is surrounded around these things that I love because your love and desire, it's all built on that, right? The first thing is your want or desire and everything else is built on top of that.
So the hardest part where I see people get stuck or they quit give up, whatever we want to call it, is in the action part. There's a high initially people experience, an excitement high during action. Almost kind of like people do a New Year's resolution and then the gym is like packed for like January and then and I always know in February, I'm like, it'll be dead. It's the same thing I notice where, entrepreneurs, people who want to start a business or whatever, they get really excited. They have all this energy. And then when they aren't getting that instant gratification of seeing money within a month, or they've tried their first sales script and their first ad campaign, and they're not seeing the sales they want, and then they get deflated. So you obviously kept going anyway. Can you give some advice to people what to do when they get in that zone? Because we've all gotten there. I mean, I've been there God knows how many times.
Absolutely. I mean, so my first book I wrote was literally kind of that system I just talked you through, from the want and desire, then the idea, then the action plan, goals, values, vision, and purpose. So that's what the first book really knuckles down on, is those things, so that you can start your business. Then my second book, I noticed the exact same thing you just pointed out, which was the failure aspect. People fail, they try their first sale and, they make 50 calls and, nobody buys or whatever. I get that. And that's why I wrote the second book, which is a guide to overcoming and conquering failure. Because truly, and I'll boil the book down into this chapter 3 goes into this in detail, but in a nutshell, failure is a myth. It's not even real. Failure is simply a mathematical thing. It's a logic thing. It's like this. If I put in 50% effort, what's the maximum result I can get out? It's 50%, right?
Right.
Now, if I put in 0% effort, I give up, in other words, I quit. I tried my sales script. I gave 50% and it failed. So I'm going to give 0%. I give up, in other words. It's just like, I'm going to go to the gym in January, and then come February, I'm going to put in 0%. But guess what? Your health's not going to get better. It's like, oh, I need my room to be cleaned. And then you say, oh, I'm just not going to clean it. And then, well, guess what? Your room's still a mess, like you still have to clean it, So that's my thing, is that one, you're not excused by your excuses just because, oh, I didn't have time to clean my room, or, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym. Well, guess what? You still need to go to the gym, and your room is still a mess, and you still need to do it regardless of your excuse. So you're not excused by your excuses, in other words. And failure is simply a myth. If you put in 100% effort, the worst case, you'll get 0. Although you have 100 other options, you have 80%, you have 90% results, you have 20% results, you have, and I promise you, like you said in the beginning, I would rather take 3% yeses and 97% people say no, because I guarantee you 3%, that's $30,000. That's a $25,000 package. I mean, that's, and then I get paid for all those no's as well, like I explained earlier. And so failure is literally, you put in and I put 110% into those calls. I do everything before those calls. I do my affirmations and I get ready for the call and pour everything into each call, so that I know if I put in 110%, the worst case is I get 0 out, but the best case I get 110% out. And I've had clients where I'm like, wow, I'm so proud of closing that person, because that person's life is going to change. And I see it and I'm like, wow, that person, their life, they're going to get more sales, more speaking gigs. Their life is literally about to change and they don't even know it. And so I get excited about that. So, put in 110% in everything. Otherwise, if you put in 0%, the max you'll get out is 0. So if you put in 110%, you at least have so many more options other than 0%.
I think the other thing that makes it difficult for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially, in the online space, is they are seeing a lot of people who aren't like you and myself, where we keep it very real, even though people don't always like what we have to say about achieving success and reaching specific goals. We keep it extremely real, and this is as real as it gets with, Leland's 3%, marker. Okay. That's the truth. That is the real deal. But then people see, online, and I'm not saying these people aren't successful, they may be, but they're seeing people on Instagram and on Facebook touting that they're making, $1 million a year or $2 million a year, and they're on their laptop in Fiji, and they're making it look like this is not hard. And then so when people are in that action stage and they're not getting that sale, it can be extra deflating, because it's like, what am I doing wrong when all these other people are having it so easy?
Yeah.
So what is that? Like, I know we're speaking in general, because we're not talking about people specifically, but I know you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's really, it's the pains of failure. It's why failure hurts. It's the feeling of unmet expectations is what that is. When you're going through that, when you're like, oh man, I spent $50 on my Facebook ad and I had the best Facebook ad image and the best copy. It was so good. I spent $80 or whatever. And man, I got like one sale, and it's like, I made $7 and I spent 80. I give up. That's in other words, the pain of failure, which is the feeling of unmet expectations. What you need to reassess in that scenario is not, oh, I'm a failure. Oh, I suck. I'm not meant for this. I'm not cut out for it. No, it's, I messed up somewhere in my expectations. My expectations were too high. My expectations were, I'm going to be able to work on a laptop in Fiji, when it's just unrealistic. That person that's sitting on their laptop in Fiji either worked their butt off to get there and maybe spent, $1 million in ad spend, and then got back, that continuous residual return over a longer period of time from multiple ads and split tests and all that stuff, and that's when it gets complicated. And I don't want to get into much jargon, because I don't want to like scare people off, because it's really not as complicated as people think in respect to the process. There's a lot to learn. However, it's like anything. If you want to get good at basketball, there's a lot to learn about getting good at it. You want to get good at writing books, like there's a system to it, and it's not easy, but going to school, everybody's gone to school, everybody knows what it's like to learn algebra, and it's not easy at first, maybe for some people that have a knack for it, but I promise you, the person that's getting A's in calculus 3 is, they're spending the time doing it. I already know I will never do calculus 3. Like, I'm just not going to do it because I know where my strengths and weaknesses are, and it's definitely a weakness is math. And that doesn't mean I give up on it. I still need to know some math, but I'm not going to do calculus 3. And just like the same thing, that's when it goes back to that want and desire. Like, what are you made for? Like, what do you want to do with your life? I'm not going to do calculus 3. It's not my thing, but I might, be a sales machine and like be known for sales and leave a legacy there and be known as someone that's impacted billions of people. That's something I might do, because I found that desire, I latched onto that. And I didn't care if I messed up. I didn't care if I only got 2 people to buy my book when I first did it or whatever. It's because that's not what it's about. It's about, like, I know my worth, I know my potential, and I'm working to my potential, not what other people are doing. So stop comparing yourself first and set realistic expectations. And to do that most effectively, 1, stop learning from the people that are flaunting millions of dollars on internet, because 1, it's not realistic, and 2, they can, if they want to, freedom, but they earned it. And then the other thing is learn from the actual people that are doing the work, like you and I. Like, I don't have time to flaunt a vacation in Fiji. I'll take a vacation in Fiji when I've earned it. You know what I mean? Like, and once I've spent, thousands of trial and error, and then, I finally close that $25,000 package, then I'll, take a vacation to Fiji. But, so just learn from the people that are doing it, and they will give you realistic expectations. They will tell you, like, this is what you can expect if you make 500 phone calls. This is what you can expect, and this is the outcome. But then it comes down to what you said, taking action. Like, are you going to make 500 phone calls, or are you going to, where are your values? In other words, like, what's your plan? What are your goals? Like, if you connect with the right people, they might even tell you, like, follow this plan. They might make it so simple for you. Like, literally all you have to do is A, B, and C. And like, I've just noticed that with successful people, they will show you their plan. They'll show you everything that they did to get where they are, because they want to see you succeed. And it'll literally come down to your values, really, is are you going to do it or not? And then it's an ethical choice. Then it's like, are you going to do what you know you should be doing, or are you not going to do what you know you should be doing? It's omission. It's like, if you don't do it, it's an ethical thing. It has nothing to do with taking action. It's actually where your morals at, where's your character, where's your values. And you'll notice a lot of business people talk a lot about character and values and vision, because that's really what it comes down to. It's not about taking action. Every business person knows that. And so once you get past that hurdle, then you'll notice immediately it comes down to your values. So that's really what you should look at, is what do you value? And if you value vacations in Fiji, well, guess what? You're in for a ride, because that's a lot of work to get to that point.
It is, you guys, trust me. That's like one of my big whys is, high-end luxury international travel. I love it. That's part of how I reward myself, my Tiffany reward system. But yeah, a lot of things have to happen to be able to go on those trips. So I want to wrap up, but I want you guys to know that he mentioned something that didn't slip by me. Did I hear you say that you're in Anchorage, as in like Alaska?
Yes. Anchorage, Alaska is where I'm at right now.
Okay. So, here's another lie that, people tell ourselves, right? Or an excuse or a false belief, aside from the age thing, I'm too young, I'm too old, is also, I don't live in Los Angeles. I don't live in New York. I don't live in San Francisco. I don't live somewhere
Miami,
cool.
isn't it?
Right. I don't live somewhere cool. And so I can't get to a lot of networking events because of that, or above, whatever it is. He's doing this from Anchorage, Alaska. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's another thing. And by the way, I only moved here because I love the mountains and hiking. Like, I'm doing it because it's something I love. So just wanted to add that in there.
I mean, but seriously, that's just a lie, that one of the many lies that we can start and that turn into a belief that we can tell ourselves that can prevent us from going after, what we really want in life. And it didn't slip by me. I had to mention it, because I'm like, what could be like a greater example? It'd be like, I mean, you could have been like, I'm in the South Pole. I mean, that would have been more dramatic, but Anchorage is pretty good. So where can people get more of you, get more of your wisdom? Would you recommend for people to, get your first book on Amazon, or where's the best place for people to get more of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Connect with me first on social media at the Leland Jones. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Connect with me, because like I said at the beginning, if you message me, that is me connecting with you. And what I'll do right off the top is I will offer you a free 15-minute coaching call. I love to talk to really anybody that reaches out to me. Like I said, I mean, this is not going to be a forever thing, but this is something I want to provide pretty much every prospective client, a 15-minute opportunity to connect with me and allow me to provide you immense value for free in a 15-minute coaching call, or less. Like, it might even go quicker. And then what I want you to do is check out my website, multimotivation.com, www.multimotivation.com. That's where you can see what I'm up to. I have a blog there. I have other podcasts that I'm on, things like that. Check out my YouTube channel. I'm posting videos there as well, just dropping value on how you can start living your God-given purpose every single day of your life in different ways. And I talk about, vision, values, goals, action, things like that. And then
your book.
Connect with me. My book. Go on Amazon and type in A Journey with Purpose, and you will get access to my first and second book. It's a series. I'm going to be publishing another one in that series. It's a 3-book series, A Journey with Purpose. And then I also have the Purpose Creation booklet, which if you reach out to me, I'll give to you for free, because that's why I created it.
Wow, that's generous.
And yeah, but it's because I want to provide that value and get you guys set up so that you can start living the life of your dreams and realize the truths of business.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was truly a pleasure. I'm glad that, you do your own hustle and you reached out. I do agree this is a perfect match for my audience, and it was really great getting insight from you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Tiffany. It was a pleasure. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.